What's going on, Alabama fans? This is Brandon, aka Fresh, COO of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Guys, we are locked and loaded, guys. This is an absolute bombshell that has been dropped on the college football head, and done so by none other than the man Nick Saban, speaking at an event in Birmingham last night for the World Games. The World Games are hosted by Birmingham this year in July. And Nick Saban and Nate Oates were invited to speak. And Nick Saban spoke, and he spoke. Before I even get into the video, guys, I need y'all to go ahead and smash this like button. I might even ask for 2,000 because based on the magnitude of what's going on, this is an absolute bombshell. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that. I can't think of any other word but that to describe exactly what he just did last night. And if you watched one of my previous videos, guys, I alluded to this. I said this. I predicted this, guys. I thought it was going to be at SEC Media Days that Nick Saban was going to drop a bombshell as it pertains to NIL and all this other stuff that's going on. I guess he couldn't wait. He couldn't wait that long because that is in July. But he's going to have this, and he absolutely set the entire college football world ablaze with his comments last night. And if you did not listen to the comments and put the tweets up, but I'll go ahead and just read exactly some snippets of what the context of basically what it was. Essentially, what Nick Saban said, in a nutshell, is that his good old pal, his BFF, Jimbo Fisher, head coach of Texas A&M, essentially paid for all of their recruits for the number one recruiting class this past season cycle. That's what he said. Not one, not two, not 4 or 5 recruits. He said every last recruit they bought with NIL funds, basically. Setting up these collectives. I talked about it before, that this was something that was a big loophole that a lot of these universities, especially the ones in Texas, because they did pass a law saying that this is something that they can do. And Texas, they did take advantage of it. And schools like Alabama, they're starting to come around after other bylaws were passed, so to speak, to allow them to be able to set up these collectives. So I mentioned that the high tide traditions that Nick Saban and Alabama put forth, they're able to compete using that in a similar fashion to what Texas A&M did. But it appears as though the collectives that Alabama has is for current players that they have on their roster, not guys that they're trying to entice with these collectives in order for them to get here. And that's essentially what Nick Saban is saying, is that schools like Texas A&M set up these collectives to entice recruits to sign with them, promising them NIL monies. And he's saying that is something that's not that wasn't the purpose of what NIL was for. It's for students who are enrolled, students who are part of your team, to be able to make money off of their name, image, and likeness, not necessarily for college coaches and schools to persuade students to go there for the sole purpose of being able to basically pay players. And he did this, and I knew it was going to happen, guys. If you go back, we can link the video, so you can listen to exactly what I said. I know this man, and if you're fans, you should have been ready for it as well. But I knew that it was going to be no later than SEC Media Days, that he was going to use the national stage, a big time stage, to drop this news or express in more detail how he feels. And my Lord, did he not just absolutely just obliterate what's going on with this whole NIL thing. And he also mentioned Miami. He mentioned the booster. I think I mentioned that as well, that there's a booster who owns a couple of different companies, and he's enticing players for the University of Miami. He's paying them like $400,000 to be able to basically, promote his business. But it's a tool, essentially, to get them to sign with your program, getting guys to transfer from universities, giving them this huge bag, so to speak, to play for the team of their choosing. And if I'm a booster that's worth millions and millions of dollars, probably some in the billion or maybe a billionaire, I mean, 400,000. I mean, that's nothing. That's like me offering somebody $40 or $4 probably for me. So him doing that for 5 or 10 recruits, that's nothing. And Nick Saban is saying is that, we're getting way beyond the scope in terms of what this whole thing is used for. And he dropped another bombshell when he even threw Deion Sanders, or we actually didn't throw Deion Sanders. He said Jackson State paying Travis Hunter, who was the number one recruit in the nation, athlete-wise, or he may even be the number one recruit depending on which site you might follow for national recruiting news. And it was reported that Barstool Sports, which is a company that Deion Sanders has a podcast with, has a great relationship with Dave Portnoy, who also set up the Barstool NIL pages for student athletes to be able to earn NIL compensation by being a Barstool representative, basically. All right, so there's some, they've kind of already dove into that business anyway, and then already having a relationship with Deion Sanders, aka Coach Prime. A lot of people started kind of putting the two and two together. So, well, maybe this was something that was done now. Typically, where there's smoke, there's fire. However, there was a report within the Clarion Ledger that said that this is absolutely 100% false. And Deion Sanders, like the Deion Sanders that we all know, is not going to be shy, and he doesn't care who you are, doesn't care if you're Nick Saban, you're the president of the United States, whoever you might be. He got on Twitter and absolutely lit fire and said, hey, Nick Saban absolutely lied. And he capitalized the word lie in all caps. Lied on my name. We did not pay Travis Hunter a dime to come to Jackson State. He did it on his own volition. He said, our people, and I'm assuming he's talking about black folks, we don't have to pay. If you want to come represent your people, we're not going to have to pay for that. That's what you want to do. Now, I have my own thoughts on that, because if that were the case, then I'm not sure why 4 and 5 star players weren't flocking to HBCUs. I digress on that. That's another topic for another day. But if that is the case, if Travis Hunter and Jackson State did not have some mutual $1 million plus agreement for him to sign there, Nick Saban definitely owes Deion Sanders an apology. However, one thing I do know about Nick Saban is that he typically does not speak, all right, unless he is pretty much on point with what he says. Now, is it like 1,000% going to be accurate? I mean, he might make a small mistake, but he did not just get this out of thin air. I'm pretty sure he probably followed up on this, maybe asked around and said, hey, I heard a report. Where's the basis on this? Somebody else in this camp probably said, yeah, there is some truth to this, in fact. And he decided to speak on it. So right now he has 2 very high profile coaches probably not really liking him too much. And it's kind of interesting because one is a longtime friend. He's openly expressed his admiration for Jimbo Fisher, the lifelong friendship that they've had in coaching, pretty much taking him under his wing, being his offensive coordinator at LSU, and in other places, as well as his relationship with Deion Sanders. They are in national Aflac commercial ads. I can only imagine how that's going to be, being on the set with somebody that, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they'll squash this. Maybe they've had a conversation. I imagine that Deion Sanders, knowing who he is, probably going to pick up the phone and say, hey, coach, no, sir. This ain't happening. I don't know where you're getting your information from. We're not paying nobody. You need to jump on a press conference, and you need to get, I don't know what you got going on with Jimbo Fisher, but we ain't paying nobody. So maybe that'll come out at some point soon. If they, squash, then they can continue doing Aflac commercials. But right now, Nick Saban has 2 very high-profile coaches, 1 very high-profile fan base, not really liking him at all. They didn't like him in the first place, but they really don't like him right now. So that Texas A&M matchup, it was already going to be a revenge matchup for the ages in Tuscaloosa. Woo! I don't know what it's going to look like. I might actually have to go to that game, guys. I might have to just see. I got to be on the ground for that game. I got to see how the fans look. I got to get some responses. I got to see how Jimbo Fisher looks. I got to just see what it's like. I might have to take a trip to Tuscaloosa and see that game in person on the field, and also out there amongst the people. All right, guys. This is going to be something that's going to be probably all summer long until this thing gets situated. You need to make sure you're tuned in. If you're not subscribed to us, you need to subscribe right now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow. today, right this second, like this video, smash it. I'm looking for 2,000, 2K. All right, we talk about the like game, my people. Represent. Go ahead and do that now. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on our other social media pages, Twitter, TD Alabama Mag, Instagram, TD Alabama Mag. Make sure you get a subscription today, touchdownalabama.com. Those prices will be going up, guys. As you can see, with content like this coming, we're about to run it all the way up, okay? All right, well, I appreciate y'all sticking with me. Stay tuned. There's going to be so much more as we continue to dive into this particular story. And I appreciate y'all. This is Brandon, a.k.a. Fresh, and I'm signing off.